Hey there, higher running coach and Hoka athlete Sage Canaday here with another training talk. I believe this is episode number 58. Hope your 2023 is off to a great start. We're going to dive right in. The common question, repeating workouts, doing the same workout over and over, maybe on a weekly schedule, following a training plan that gets a bit redundant over time, right? If you keep repeating things over and over, that could be good, but it also could be bad, and that's what I want to touch on in detail in this training talk. So I have a saying, and it's in our higher running, or actually Sage Running book, The Sage Running Secret, A Guide to Speedy Ultras that Coach Sandy Nypaver and I co-authored several years ago before we changed our brand name to Higher Running, but there's a term in there that I call consistent variation. It's kind of oxymoron, I guess, kind of cancels it out, right? Consistent variation, the idea that you want to be consistent with your running training in terms of consistent mileage, right? Getting out the door most days each week, getting in a good 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 minutes of aerobic training, consistent in your base building, aerobic base building, a lot of 80-20 type of training with a lot of more low intensity conversational pace mixed in with a little bit of speed work and intensity. But you are changing things. The volume, your weekly mileage, how many kilometers or miles you run each week might change slightly, but it's consistently high maybe in a training cycle. Likewise, you're consistently getting in maybe a long run. If you're doing a serious training program, maybe one of our higher running training programs, and you're training for a long distance race, be it a 5K or a half marathon, marathon, ultra marathon, you might want to be consistent with getting in a much longer long run, maybe on a weekend, but maybe it's not every weekend, maybe it's not every Saturday or Sunday, maybe it's every 2 weeks, or maybe if you have a flexible work schedule, it's once every 10 days. You're on a 10-day or 12-day or 14-day cycle instead of just a 7-day cycle. You don't always do the super long, hard long run on Sunday. Maybe you do, but that's not what I would advise always. It's good to have change it up. Maybe one weekend you do a medium length long run, be it 10 miles or 16K, and then the next week you do a super long run that's twice as long, 20 miles or 32K. Maybe the difference is a little less than that though. Maybe you're doing a 16-mile long run versus a 22-mile long run or something like that. And maybe one of them's nice and relaxed at a slow pace, but then another one you have mixed speed strides or a fartlek or some sort of up-tempo work in there where you're running faster than your marathon race pace at the end of a long run. So there's pace changes within the long run. It's consistent that you're doing long runs, but there's some variety in terms of how those miles or kilometer splits add up during the course of the long run or the course of a workout. And another specific example in this would be in like one of our training plans at Higher Running. We sell training plans for any service, any distance. Coach Sandy and I made them. We designed certain workouts, high intensity workouts, be it in a training cycle, be it a 12-week or 16-week plan, but we're not going to repeat the exact same workout every 7 days, right? That would be kind of a disservice, and I'll tell you why. Let's say you're doing a high-intensity VO2 max type of workout, right? 95% max heart rate or higher, and you want to get in this hard, intense workout. Maybe you've been dreading it. It's good for speed development, boosting your efficiency, good for power, aerobic power, VO2 max. And say the first workout 1 week, it's 6 to 8 times 800 meters at 5K race pace with a 2-minute rest. So you're doing 800 meter repeats around 5K race pace, only a 2-minute rest, not a full recovery. It's a typical VO2 max workout, right? It's pretty hard. You get through it. Maybe you struggle on it. Maybe the weather's not ideal that day. Whatever. You do it on a track. Now, if you had to do that again 7 days later, it would be kind of rough. It'd be kind of rough mentally because you're already kind of tired and you're going to want to compare your times to what you did the prior week. And there's a good chance that you might actually run slower the next week because of that fatigue or because of that mental attitude or because of that pressure that you put on yourself to replicate this exact same workout. And you're kind of pressured to think, oh, I got to run these faster. And maybe the weather's not as good next week. Maybe it's windy. It's hard to compare times, but the fitness doesn't jump up that fast usually. It usually takes several weeks for you to notice a jump in fitness. So like I said, you might actually be more tired and slower the next week. Maybe you have a head cold, maybe you didn't sleep well. And so it's not advisable to do the exact same workout within 7 days. Now, what we could do, and we, again, don't usually do VO2 max workouts necessarily every week unless you're training for a 5K or 10K, maybe in a very intense phase in a half marathon training plan, is that we would do a VO2 max workout maybe 12 days later, or it's a fartlek, or we do it maybe even 14 days later. And again, we're not doing the exact same workout. When instead, we might change it up. So instead of doing those 800-meter repeats at 5K pace, now we're going to say, okay, now you do 6 times a kilometer, 6 times 1,000 meters. Maybe it's a little slower because it's a longer interval, but it's marginal. And you could pleasantly surprise yourself. It's a slightly different workout, but it's a very similar stimulus. So there we go with the consistent variation. You're still doing a VO2 max workout. The parameters have changed a bit. Now instead of running 800-meter repeats, we're doing 6 times a kilometer, 6 times 1,000 meters, 2.5 laps on a standard 400-meter track. We're going to keep the rest the same, 2 minutes, and we're going to keep the pace very similar. And if you're progressed well in your fitness, and maybe this is 3 or 4 weeks later after that initial VO2 max workout, you might be able to surprise yourself and hold the same pace for these 1,000-meter repeats that you did for the 800-meter repeats 3 weeks prior. But we waited 3 weeks, or at least 2 weeks, and we changed the workout slightly. So doing VO2 max workouts, they're changing slightly. Maybe the next week after that, you're doing 600-meter repeats and you're doing them a little faster, closer to 3K pace, right? So it's that idea that you're getting in consistent workouts in a certain zone, be it VO2 max or be it a long run or be it a tempo run or something like that, but you're slightly changing these workouts so you don't compare them obsessively in your head, but also for a physical stimulus, because the body, if you think of the body as an organism, it responds to different external stimuli and hopefully adapts to those external stimuli, and we'll call those workout stresses, right? We want to put the body, we want to challenge our body a bit, right? Little muscle confusion, throwing in the little anaerobic mix or the aerobic mix of the system, but we're constantly stimulating ourselves in slightly different ways that are a little stressful so that we adapt and become stronger and faster and more fit and more efficient. So it's a super compensation, so to speak, of these workouts, and we don't want them to be too stressful, because if they're too stressful and we can't adapt, then we're overtraining, we're over-fatigued, we're getting ourselves tired, sick, or injured. So it's a delicate balance between adding in that new stress, and again, these VO2 max workouts in this example are quite high intensity, you have to use them sparingly, but the timing is what's important, and changing those parameters could be a good break mentally for you, as well as a good physical adaptation. Extending the interval distance to 1,000 meters or kilometer repeat is great for VO2 max, because a lot of people, that's going to be at least 3 minutes, maybe even 4 minutes in VO2 max, compared to an 800-meter repeat, 200 meters shorter, could also be good, but you're changing the speed up slightly as well. So it depends on the day. It could be a windier day at the track, so you never know. But we might compare similar workouts a month apart or 3 weeks apart. We might do another similar workout, and if you see progress in that, that's a good motivator, both mentally and physically, because it shows that you're adapting and progressing your fitness throughout a training plan. So that's my talk on variety and the spice of running, improving your fitness. And if you just want to be a run streaker and run a mile each day or 2 kilometers each day, that's great for consistency. It's good for mental discipline, but you're probably not going to reach your ideal race performances, be it a Boston qualifying marathon, sub 3-hour marathon, or finishing your first 5K, unless you capitalize on this variety in training. You're following a detailed plan that takes these things into account and that progresses your fitness with consistently higher mileage. Usually a lot of people get a lot of benefit from that. So thanks. Check out our training plans at higherrunning.com. We sell training plans for any surface, any distance. Check out Coach Sandy's running channel, Running Wild. You can link to it up there, as well as subscribe on here. Like these videos if you like them. Thanks to the Patreon supporters for really making this channel possible. Thanks to title sponsor Hoka, keeping the dream alive. Got some more announcements this year, 2023, off to a great start, hopefully. Thank you so much again, really, for making this channel possible. Follow me on social media at Sage Canaday, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. Got a Facebook fan page as well. All linked below. Thank you so much again. Hope you're doing well, and stay tuned for more VO2 Max Productions.